Okay, testing. Yes. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a very exciting afternoon program. It's a special day. There are only 2 days in the year, the Memorial Day program and this one, the Labor Day program, when we flip the script. And instead of monks lecturing and talking to you guys, it'll be the devotees reflecting on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So it'll be the devotees on the podium today. And let me give you a brief sense of the overall program. We'll begin with Vedic chanting. There's a team here which I'll introduce in a second. After this Vedic chanting, first in Sanskrit and then with the English translation, I'll call devotees up one by one, and about 10 devotees will offer their 5-minute reflections on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna on different topics relating to the Gospel. After that, we are very honored and fortunate to have in our midst one of the vice presidents of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission, Swami Divyanandaji Maharaj. He will grace us with his presence and speak. He'll offer the closing speech. After that, I will invite somebody to sing a song. And then finally, I'll call revered Swami Divyanandaji to offer the vote of thanks. Okay, so that's the program. So, without further ado, let's begin with Vedic chanting. The team consists of Himaja, Leela, Keshab, Preeti, and Birgita, and Dinesh, Brahmachari Dinesh. Okay, so why don't you all come up?
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Om Yaschandasam Rishabho Vishvarupaha Chandobhyodhyamritaat sambabhuva Samendro medhaya asprinotu Amritasya devadharano bhuyasam Shariram me vicharshanam Jihva me madhumaktama Karna abhyam bhuri vishruvam Brahmana koshosi medhaya pihitaha Shrutam me gopaya. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.
May Brahman protect us both together. May he nourish us both together. May we both work together with great energy. May our study be vigorous and effective. May we never hate each other. May peace, physical, mental, and spiritual, be on us forever. Oh, peace, peace, peace. May he who is the bull of Vedic hymns, who assumes all forms, who has sprung from the immortal hymns of the Vedas, may the Supreme Lord strengthen me with wisdom. May I, O God, become an upholder of the immortal revelation. May I be able and active in body. May my speech be sweet and agreeable to the highest degree. May I hear abundant teachings with my ears. You, O Om, are the veil of Brahman, which is concealed within me by my intellect. May whatever I have learned be preserved. Om, peace, peace, peace.
We good? Thank you so much to the chanting team for that wonderful chanting. Now we'll begin the second part of our program. I'll be inviting devotees one by one to speak for about 5 minutes on a topic of their choice on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. First up is Parama.
Okay, this is fun. So I wanted to talk about the Gita, and I looked up in the index of the Gospel about how many times Sri Ramakrishna referred to the Gita in the Gospel, and there was 12 references. And then when I looked up each reference, it was interesting because 7 of those 12 references were about the essence of the Gita. And he always said that the essence of the Gita was renunciation. And he always gave this one example too. He said, when you say Gita 10 times, it becomes Tagi. And Tagi means renunciation. You guys want to try it with me? 10 times. Gita, 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 Gita. See? It's renunciation. Okay. Sri Ramakrishna had a gift for speaking to people on their level, and he often gave examples that they could relate to and understand. So when we think about renunciation, in this human form and everything, and especially in our Western culture, we think, okay, what is renunciation? How do we practice it? And why is it important? Well, in chapter 26, on page 502, this is what Sri Ramakrishna says about the definition and what renunciation is. He says, there are many kinds of renunciation. One of them may be called Markat Vairagyam, monkey renunciation. This is a false renunciation, stimulated by the afflictions of the world. That renunciation doesn't last long. Then there is real renunciation. A man with everything in the world, lacking nothing, feels all to be unreal. Okay, so how do we get to that point? He continues, he says, it's not possible to acquire renunciation all at once. The time factor must be taken into account. It's also true that a man should hear about it. When the right time comes, he will say to himself, oh yes, I heard about this. You must also remember another thing. By constantly hearing about renunciation, one's desire for worldly objects gradually wears away. And this is where he gives that relatable example. He says, one should take rice water in small doses to get rid of the intoxication of liquor. Then one gradually becomes normal. And he continues by giving us why this is so important. He says the value of he explains the value of renunciation and says, an aspirant entitled to the knowledge of God is very rare. It's said in the Gita that 1 in thousands desires to know God. And again, that among thousands who have such a desire, only one is able to know him. As your attachment to the world diminishes, your spiritual knowledge will increase. Pretty good, huh? Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you to Parama for her wonderful speech on the Gita in the Gospel and its connection to renunciation. Next up is Proshunjit.
Before I get started, I want to thank Swami Divyanandaji Maharaj and Swami Divyanandaji Maharaj for the opportunity. So Thakur Sri Ramakrishna actually very clearly stated the goal of life is God realization. And the unique thing about gospel is that then Sri Ramakrishna, in a very fascinating way, depending on the nature of the devotee or the profession of the devotee, would go and explain in a very sequential, progressive, logical way how to realize God. And to give an example of that, and not only that, when he was actually also teaching them how to realize God, he was also citing deep scriptural insights in very simple Bengali language. So I'm going to give an example of all of that with one of my favorite parts of gospel, which talks about surrender. So, and this is a conversation that Thakur had with a devotee named Shirish. He was a lawyer. And when Shirish came and Thakur's conversation followed like this, Thakur actually asked him. Thakur said, have you any questions to ask? Perhaps you want to know how to live unattached in the world. And Shirish, just like all of us who are involved in worldly duties, he didn't have anything to do with unattachment. He said, under the pressure of duties, people do many unrighteous things. And what do you do about them, right? How do people work? And Sri Ramakrishna, going to that God realization as the goal, he quickly changes the conversation. Sri Ramakrishna says, duties drop away after the realization of God. Then one goes beyond good and evil. Realizing God, one goes beyond virtue and vice. The more you advance towards God, the less he will give you worldly duties to perform. But Shirish was not having it any other way. He's like us. He's like, really, all this God talk is already too much for him. See, he says, it is very difficult to proceed towards God while leading the life of a householder. And then Sri Ramakrishna was not giving up. He basically then comes back with, yes, you work in the world. You have 16 parts of your brain. 15 parts you devote to God, 1 part you work. And he gives a simple example to Shirish. But this is one of those parts where I feel so profound that he says a very profound truth. It is all futile if you have no love for God and no desire to realize him. So imagine the God realization is the goal. So he directly tells Shirish with some examples that there's no point in life if you don't realize God. Then he wanted to know how does Shirish sees God. And Shirish said, well, I see the beautiful world and I know God is all powerful. Then again, Sri Ramakrishna again, you see the gradual way how he's leading Shirish into God realization, or path of at least giving him an idea. So then Thakur says, you will get peace of mind only when you have seen God. You will enjoy bliss and gain strength only when you have talked to him. So taking the conversation now from just, being devoted to God or all this stuff, he's basically saying you need to talk to God, and that's when you get strength. And we all need strength and focus in our life, in a practical world. This is where Shirish goes, okay, this is enough. He says, we do not have time to pray to God. Like most of us have done it, right? I'm sure we have gone and told Swamijis, we do not have time. this is the best part of this passage that I wanted to share with you. Sri Ramakrishna, in a very pure, direct way, says, surrender everything at the feet of God. What else can you do? Give him the power of attorney. Let him do whatever he thinks best. Now remember, Shrish was a lawyer. So Shrish knew what power of attorney is. When we think of power of attorney, because we live in worldly life, we think we are gaining power and money and health. When do we give our power of attorney? When we are weak and disappearing and, I cannot think anymore, let me give my power of attorney. Sri Ramakrishna is saying, give the power of attorney right now when you're amassing wealth and power and everything. And why is this so? Why is that important? So this is where I want to spend the rest of the, very briefly, next 2 minutes to talk about what are the prerequisites for surrender. Prerequisites for surrender is you need to love God. If you don't love God, you cannot surrender, just like power of attorney. How will you give your power of attorney to someone that you don't love or trust? And there is nobody in the world better than God to love and trust. So power of attorney to God makes perfect sense. The second prerequisite is that you have to have absolute conviction that the person whom you're giving power to is more powerful than you are. This is the most difficult part of our life, because when we live worldly life, you don't think God is driving car. When you're driving well, oh, I drove so well. When you get a promotion, oh, I worked so hard. When you get laid off, then, oh my God, God, please protect me, I don't know what's to do. Because we never, ever, ever realize that when good things is happening, it's God's power working through us. And that's the whole message, that you need to surrender your will, make it God's will. So anything you do, it becomes God's work. And then you are not incurring any karmas or, all the duty-related problems that Shrish was asking. So now I'm going to quickly switch in the last, minute or so, talk about how, everything he said here is actually in Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna in the 18th chapter, after teaching him all the fundamentals of religion and spirituality, he basically tells Arjuna in chapter 18, verses 61, 62, and 64, 65, 66. First he says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddeshe Arjuna tishtati. He says, God lives in everybody's heart, all living beings' heart. Then he says, Tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata. Surrender to that God that is in your heart. That's not enough. Then he goes to 65. He says, Manmana bhavo madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. You have to bow down, devote to me. And then finally he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. That is what Sri Ramakrishna was telling Shrish in a very simple Bengali language. But that's it. But before I end, I have to quickly say that, with everything, it's about gospel and Thakur, but Mother has a very unique way of directly telling you. So I'm just going to end it with Mother's statement, and there's nothing else to add. Holy Mother said, do not fear, my child. Always remember that Sri Ramakrishna is behind you. I am also with you. Free yourself from all anxiety by entrusting your future to me. Never fear. Whenever you are in distress, just say to yourself, I have a mother. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Jai Ma.
Thank you to Prashanjit for a very stimulating discussion of Sri Ramakrishna's conversation with Shirish, a very modern, skeptical-minded man, and there are many of them these days. Next up is Kiran. Please, welcome Kiran.
Hello. So I decided to speak on a passage that I found on October 27, 1882. And in this passage, Sri Ramakrishna sings a song basically complaining to Divine Mother. And the song goes like this. Mother, this is the grief that sorely grieves my heart, that even with thee for mother, and though I am wide awake, there should be robbery in my house. Many and many a time I vow to call on thee, yet when the time for prayer comes round, I have forgotten. Now I see it is all thy trick. As thou hast never given, so thou receivest not. Am I to blame for this, O Mother? Hadst thou but given, surely then thou hadst received. Out of thine own gifts I should have given to thee. Glory and shame, bitter and sweet, are thine alone. This world is nothing but thy play. Then why, O blissful one, dost thou cause a rift in it? Says Ramprasad, thou hast bestowed on me this mine, and with a knowing wink of thine eye, bidden it at the same time to go and enjoy the world. And so I wander here, forlorn through thy creation, blasted as it were by someone's evil glance, taking the bitter for the sweet, taking the unreal for the real. So my reason for choosing this to talk about this song was because for me it points at a couple of interesting things. First of all, I think it reminds us all about the playful nature of creation. So we don't take everything so seriously all the time. Even when you think about this song, it's funny. It's a complaint. You're complaining to the Divine Mother. And then the other aspect that I want to focus on is this very last paragraph. When he says, and with a knowing wink of thine eye, bidden it at the same time to go and enjoy the world. So I asked myself this question: what is enjoyment of the world, and whether there is anything wrong with enjoying the world? And so I'd like to explore this question by first saying that right after this song, Sri Ramakrishna says, men are deluded through her maya and have become attached to the world. And then a few paragraphs later, he also says, I tell you the truth, there is nothing wrong in your being in the world, but you must direct your mind toward God, otherwise you will not succeed. And to me, these two things kind of hold the key, at least for me, to understanding this better, of the nature of the playfulness within creation and enjoyment. And I kind of would like to dare to redefine enjoyment right now. And so first of all, I asked myself also the other question of how do I define attachment? And I personally find Eckhart Tolle's explanation of attachment to be quite simple to understand for me. And he says that attachment is when we derive a sense of self from something. So meaning we are seeking always ourselves outside of ourselves. So in doing so, we lose ourselves in whatever it is, whether it be, doing a relationship, whatever, a job. And so if we think about true enjoyment, what does true enjoyment mean? At least for me, it would be when you are somewhat at least grounded in your true essence through practice, so that then you eventually are able to go through experiences and not be a slave of the experience, but you actually get to truly enjoy life because you're no longer seeking yourself in any situation. So you don't need anything outside of yourself. So that is what, to me, true enjoyment is. And so I'd like to finish by saying that this conversation goes for like 6 pages or so. And I like that at the end, Sri Ramakrishna says, why shouldn't one be able to realize God in this world? King Janaka had such realization. Ramprasad described the world as a mere framework of illusion, but if one loves God's hallowed feet, then this very world is a mansion of mirth. Here I can eat, here drink, and make merry. Janaka's might was unsurpassed. What did he lack of the world or the spirit? Holding to one as well as the other, he drank his milk from a brimming cup. In my head, it's like if we adopt at least a certain amount of this attitude of playfulness within our lives, then why shouldn't we play with Mother? I think it'd be very nice to see ourselves as always playing with Mother in her different forms, and that's it.
Thanks, Akiran, for a very interesting speech on a song in the gospel and giving a new interpretation of enjoyment. It reminds me of the first mantra of the Isha Upanishad, the second line, Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha. It's very strange because bhunjita means to enjoy. And usually scriptures don't encourage us to enjoy things. But it says, through renunciation, you should enjoy this world by seeing God in everything. So through renunciation of ego and desire, you can actually enjoy this world in a deeper sense. Next up is Francis. Is he here? There he is. Okay.
Okay, here we go. So, for those who know me, Francis, and for those who don't know me, my name is Francis. And you can tell that I have a Christian background. My saint is St. Francis, who formed the Franciscan order. And I've been a Christian since I was a kid, praying, having answers to my prayers, fascinated with Jesus Christ. And when I was in college, a friend of mine gave me a small book of the Bhagavad Gita. And I read the whole thing, didn't understand a thing. And I said, wow, this is a fascinating book. Fast forward, I come to the United States, another person gives me another copy of the Bhagavad Gita, and I read it again. This time it made sense because I was here confused about American culture. Then I went on forward and I found out that meditation was the key to reaching God. I was sitting in a Christian church, and it just occurred to me, so I said, I'll go and look for meditation church. I went to SRF for many years, and then one day I was ushering, and we had interfaith conference, and somebody came from Vedanta. I think his name is Shiva or Siva. I can't remember his name. He came and talked about Ramakrishna, and I said, wow, this person must be like Jesus. So let me look him up. So I came to the internet and I found Hollywood Vedanta and came. That was about 1.5 years ago. And I am fascinated about the similarities between Jesus and Sri Ramakrishna. The sayings of Jesus are so reflected in Ramakrishna's sayings. And more fascinating for me was the fact that he had an experience of Jesus as a baby in his mother's arms, rays of light coming out and hitting him. He went to Samadhi, his deepest Samadhi, I hear, and he was so scared. He screamed, "Mother, what are you doing to me?" Mother didn't come for 3 days. Whilst he was walking in the garden of the temple, he saw a man coming. All of a sudden, he heard a voice said, "This is Jesus." The guy came, embraced him, and melted into him. Such a fascinating experience Christians don't even get. You have to go into a monastery, pray, and meditate for years, and some of these people don't even hear the voice of Christ. And here is this Hindu mystic or somebody who completely merges with Jesus Christ. How fascinating can that be? And to cap it off, there's a story in the gospel of a Christian called Mishra, who is a Quaker, Christian Quaker. If you guys don't know, Quakers are the ones from Pennsylvania. One of their leaders from that state. And funny enough, Philadelphia became the capital of the United States. Most of the individual rights in there are from the Quakers. This Quaker, who was wearing the loincloth under his clothing, Western clothing, to show his devotion to Hinduism and Christianity, comes to Master and tells Master, Jesus is not the son of Mary, he's the son of God. And he says, I have been seeing visions of Ramakrishna for a long time. Ramakrishna is God. He was equating Christ and Ramakrishna almost on the same level. And Ramakrishna looks at him and starts laughing, walks away, sees a vision of Mishra in the heroic pose. He turns around and tells him, "You are going to find what you are looking for." And he turns around to his devotees and says, "Take care of him." Now, this is a man who had no Christian background. In 3 short days, he was able to experience the Christ. That tells you about the universal nature of God. God is the same for the Muslim, for the Christian, and for the Hindu, and that we are all one. My message is, Ramakrishna proved beyond all reasonable doubt that God really is alive in us, and we are all the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Francis for that wonderful talk on Sri Ramakrishna in relation to Christianity, and that fascinating Quaker Christian Mishra who actually visited him one day and declared him to be Christ in a sense. Up next is Vijaya.
Next time, don't make me follow Francis. So Navaratri is approaching, so let's look at one of Thakur's teachings from this time. On its 3rd day, Monday, September 29th of 1884, Thakur was electrified and immersed in the Divine Mother. On this day, he addresses the paradox of seeing God everywhere while averting harmful influences stemming from disagreement and human shortcoming. After he wakes up his companions, who are sleeping on his porch for the festival, with his singing and dancing, he says to Bhavanath, in a longer story which I'll paraphrase, "The truth is that ordinary men cannot easily have faith. Hazra could never be persuaded to believe that Brahman and Shakti, that Shakti and the being endowed with Shakti are one and the same. So I pray to the Divine Mother, 'O Mother, Hazra is trying to upset the views of this place. Either give him right understanding or take him from here.' The next day he came to me and said, 'Yes, I agree with you.' He said that God exists everywhere as all-pervading consciousness. His statement about the views of this place is a hard stance on exactly what he defines as the right understanding. He's very, very firm on this, on the unity of Shiva and Shakti. There's a message for us in that. He insists upon it, especially here in the wake of Swamiji's Advaita, that we cannot dispense with Ma. And then Bhavanath pokes at Thakur a bit and says, 'Did what Hazra say really make you suffer so much?' And Thakur's response is interesting. He says, 'You see, I am now in a different mood. I can't shout and carry on heated discussions with people.' Ride said to me at Jadu Malik's garden house, 'Uncle, don't you want to keep me with you?' 'No,' I said. 'I'm no longer in a mood to get into heated arguments with you. What is knowledge and what is ignorance? A man is ignorant so long as he feels that God is far away. He has knowledge when he knows that God is here and everywhere.' We get these 2 sides of Thakur. One is intoxicated in God, unflinching in the face of abuse and ignorance, and another which is quite sensitive, sometimes stubborn and combative. He often refers to his state of mind in a hierarchical way, where there's a high state and then he comes down. But there's some use in coming down. The lesson can be taken 2 ways. If you read Thakur as a role model, you'd think, yeah, sometimes in this world I need to shout, but there's a higher place where I won't want to anymore. Or if you're reading Thakur as God, you'd think, sometimes God will just need to shout at me. Later in that day, Bhavanath comes to him and humbly asks him what to do. 'Bhavanath, I feel disturbed if I have a misunderstanding with someone. I feel in that case that I am not able to love at all. Try at the outset to talk to him and establish a friendly relationship with him. If you fail in spite of your efforts, then don't give it another thought. Take refuge in God, meditate on him. There's no use in giving up God and feeling depressed for thinking about others.' Bhavanath, great souls such as Christ and Chaitanya have admonished us to love all beings. Master, love you must, because God dwells in all beings, but salute a wicked person from a distance. You speak of Chaitanya. He also used to restrain his spiritual feeling in the presence of unsympathetic people. At Shrivas's house, he put Shrivas's mother-in-law out of the room, dragging her out by her hair. I've noticed that newcomers to spiritual life have very high standards and are very quick to judge a person's behavior. We think enlightenment should look like nonstop friendliness, and like a temple should look like Burning Man. We are fools to judge a devotee simply by his social tact, and if we do, we will easily be tricked by those with fair faces and false hearts. However, there are times when we get glimpses of that transcendental oneness. Thakur goes on to illustrate very sweetly one occurrence. When a man has true knowledge, he feels that everything is filled with consciousness. At Kamarpukur, I used to talk to Shibu, who was then a lad of 4 or 5 years old. One day I noticed him chasing grasshoppers by himself. The leaves rustled in the nearby trees. "Hush, hush," he said to the leaves. "I want to catch the grasshoppers." He was a child, and he saw everything throbbing with consciousness. One cannot realize God without the faith that knows no guile, the simple faith of a child. The guileless state is the culmination of Tantra. They are illustrations of that divine feeling, but we can see that these moods can be impractical. A God-intoxicated person who just stays there may attract a following, but he won't nearly do as much good as someone who comes down and appeals to your reason. For practicality's sake, a teacher may assume many forms, and the love cultivated in the privacy of sadhana may manifest in ways that look fierce. Maharaj said yesterday that Kali is black because she is the 3 gunas. She pervades them all as consciousness, but appears to us this way so that we can see her. In delusion, we can't see past them, but all 3 can be used to guide us. We can't decide that God will certainly treat us like a mother cat treats her kittens while we behave like mice. And we shouldn't be quick to dismiss the wisdom of others, even if they look a bit rough around the edges. Thakur spent the rest of the day singing, and I'll end with the lines of this song. Mother, when as the hawk you soar in the sky, there in the water beneath, as a minnow I shall be swimming. Upon me you will pounce and pierce me through with your claws. Then, when the breath of life forsakes me in your grip, do not deny me the shelter of your lotus feet. Thank you.
Thanks to Vijaya for an excellent speech on Sri Ramakrishna's tantric vision of divine consciousness, Divine Mother, in everything and everywhere. Next up is Anthony.
So somehow, as the Society's lawyer, I managed to get myself into talking about Sri Ramakrishna on money. I'm going to discuss his teaching as to what its dangers are and how householders may best use it. And also point out that for some, money should be avoided completely, since it is worthless as earth in the path of God realization. And at bottom, money is dangerous because it can be a distraction from realizing the divine, but it's also necessary in this world. So there's a balance to be struck. So at Gospel, page 584, Sri Ramakrishna is offered a substantial endowment. Somebody wants to put up a bunch of money which will generate interest and cause that to support him and support his works. And Sri Ramakrishna immediately falls unconscious. And he says, I fell unconscious as if struck by a stick. Regaining consciousness, I said to him, if you utter such words again, you had better not come here. It is impossible for me to touch money. It is also impossible for me to keep it near me. He then also declines an offer made by the offeree to leave the money with his assistant. And he says, if you leave it with him, I'll instruct him to spend it as I wish. If he does not comply, I shall be angry. The very contact of money is bad. And won't an object be kept near a mirror be reflected in it? And there's another version of this at Gospel at 385, a similar story about Ramal and a 5 rupee gift. And in Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, he considers, Sardananda recounts that Sri Ramakrishna considered money as worthless as earth in the path of God realization, and threw them both in the river Ganga. Now, that's for an absolute realized soul, an avatara, a manifestation of God. We're not all like that. We all want to get there. We all want to realize that. But the bottom line is that some of us do need to touch money. So But there is something, he also says in Gospel 231, the real sannyasin lives away from, among other things, gold. So householder devotees, though, have the same challenge, even though many handle money and need to handle money. Sri Ramakrishna discourages worldliness even when it distracts from God. Money, if misused, can distract from God. So he says, even when being in the world, this is Gospel 138, one must direct one's mind towards God in order to succeed. Do your duty with one hand and with the other hand to God. After the duty is over, you will hold on to God with both hands. And that's a really critical point to people like me and perhaps most of us. And this is also similar to the teachings of Christ when asked whether citizens of the empire should decline to pay taxes. He states, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. So Sri Ramakrishna has a very mature view of money for devotees. He says money enables a man to get food and drink, build a house, worship the deity, serve devotees and holy men, and help the poor when he happens to meet them. These are the good uses of money. Money is not meant for luxuries or creature comforts or for buying a position in society. That's Gospel at 285. So money's to be devoted to the service of God. Gospel 114, those who have money should give in charity. The miser's wealth is spirited away, but the money of the charitable person is saved. He spends it for a righteous purpose. And I can go on and on and on like that. There's so much in there. But the bottom line is Sri Ramakrishna teaches us to avoid excessive attachment. Another variation on renunciation, which has already been discussed. There are passions of greed, lust, and gold. He equates the attachment of lust with gold. He analogizes eating grass to enjoying, among other things, gold. And then he teaches through humor, to bleat and run away like a goat is to behave like an ordinary man. That's Gospel 360. If you hang on to money, it's the equivalent of eating grass, and you're going to bleat and run away at some point. You can't hang on to it. Therefore, these sorts of things must be directed and turned to God. And then he says at Gospel 428, and I really like this line because it ties into some of my challenges. If you must have desire and greed, then you should desire love of God and be greedy to attain Him. If you must be conceited and egotistic, a lawyer, then feel conceited and egotistic. You are thinking that you are the servant of God, the child of God. So cry to the Lord with an intensely yearning heart, and you will certainly see Him. We hear that one a lot. People swim in tears for money, but who weeps for God? Cry to Him with a real cry. So don't swim in tears for money. Attachment for gold stains the mind. It becomes covered in dirt. The magnet cannot attract the needle. And we cannot see God without purity of heart. And we have to eliminate the slightest trace of worldliness if we can. And Christ effectively says the same thing in Matthew 19:24. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. Meaning you can have a lot of money in your bank account when you leave your body, but you're not taking it with you. You need to shed it all, and you need to shed all attachment to it. So the solution, and I'll do it very quickly, you pray to God with a longing heart, and you develop love of God, and you completely get rid of your attachment to the world and worldly wisdom. Gospel 83, Gospel 173. And then I'll end with one passage from the Gospel at 670. If a householder is a genuine devotee, he performs his duties without attachment. He surrenders the fruit of his work to God, his gain or loss, his pleasure or pain, and day and night he prays for devotion and for nothing else. This is called motiveless work, the performance of duty without attachment. A sannyasi, too, must do all of his work in that spirit of detachment, but he has no worldly duties to attend to like a householder. If a man thus serves God through all beings, if he doesn't seek name and fame or heaven after death, if he doesn't seek any return from those he serves, If he can carry on his work of service in this spirit, then he performs truly selfless work without attachment. In other words, focus on realizing God, not in seeking gold. And always remember Swamiji's statement that spirituality can never be attained until materiality is gone. That's Complete Works, Volume 5, page 416. Thank you. Thank you, Swami. Thank you.
Thank you to Anthony for the wonderful talk on Sri Ramakrishna's warnings against being overly greedy about money. Next up is Birgitta.
Hari Om. Thank you. It's lovely to see everybody. Okay, so it's a pleasure to be here today. Swami Divyananda asked us to choose our own topics, so I have really enjoyed. I was very curious to see what everybody else would choose. I had to choose what was forefront on my mind at the time when he asked me, so I chose the topic of honesty. And honestly, I am nervous right now, but we'll see how this goes. That's not the point of this one. So, yep. So actually, really, I chose honesty because I work in a very honest workplace. So, yes, I love my coworkers, but this past year was like an explosively honest place. So we had whistleblowers, and so anyway, brought about lots of honest changes in the workplace, which brought about lots of honest emotions and reactions and opinions. Everybody had an opinion. And then also the alliances, right? So anyway, it was kind of an interesting workplace to navigate. So I'm kind of figuring out, I want to know how to navigate this place honestly. So I'm deferring to the master here. I couldn't necessarily find the word honesty in the Katamrita, but the closest thing to it I found was truthfulness. So I found a gold mine. Right, so according to Sri Ramakrishna, so truthfulness alone is the spiritual discipline in the Kali Yuga. So I think that statement came up at least 4 times in the Katamrita. So that's good, but I still want to know what is the truthfulness. Right, so my workplace, that kind of opinions, that kind of honesty is not necessarily the practice that I'm looking for. So luckily, Sri Ramakrishna makes it nice and simple. Simple, but hard to adhere to, I think, which is truthfulness. He equates basically to keeping your word. So, and he says God realization can be attained by keeping our word alone. That's can bring us to the highest. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I have several quotes here. So I have a little long one from chapter 14 when he was at a Brahmo Samaj festival, and he was wondering if Shivanath was arriving. And he had this to say about Shivanath, who's a religious reformer and a scholar. He says about Shivanath, I feel very happy when I see Shivanath. He always seems to be absorbed in the bliss of bhakti. Further, a man who is respected by so many surely possesses some divine power. But he has one great defect. He doesn't keep his word. Once he said to me that he would come to Dakshineshwar, but he neither came nor sent word. That is not good. It is said that truthfulness alone constitutes the spiritual discipline of the Kali Yuga. If a man clings tenaciously to truth, he ultimately realizes God. Without this regard for truth, one gradually loses everything. If by chance I say that I will go to the pine grove, I must go there, even if there's no further need of it, lest I lose my attachment to truth. Right? So he's directly attaching keeping your word to the truth. And earlier in the same chapter, he said a similar thing to M about Vidyasagar. He says, why doesn't Vidyasagar keep his word? If a man holds to truth, he will certainly realize God. The other day, Vidyasagar said he would come here and visit me, but he hasn't kept his word. So again, well, this is making me think, of course, about my own promises that I make to people. So have to be a lot more careful about what I promise to people. So it seems that Ramakrishna had a particular fixation with keeping his word. So he even says about himself, I find this one very interesting, actually. So the master says later in chapter 33, he says, there is no question of my being truthful, but must I develop a mania for it? If I once say that I shall not eat, then it is impossible for me to eat, even if I'm hungry. Again, if I ask a particular man to take my water jug to the pine grove, he alone must carry it. If another man carries it, he will have to take it back. What a fix I am in. Is there no way out of it? So he seems like he kind of, I don't know, he cannot escape keeping his word, and he's even questioning it. So he's not the only one either, right? We have also Rama is known for keeping his word and also for helping others keep their word, as his father, I believe. Okay. And also Bhishma in the Mahabharata is known for keeping his word tenaciously, and by the fact of their keeping their word changes basically the whole course of history or the storyline. So even though it might look like a calamity by them keeping their word, we can't see what the outcome is. But the importance of keeping the word, I think, gives us like a pillar to hold on to. We can't see what's coming. The world might be changing around us. We have nothing else to hold on to, but we can hold on to our word and our promise to other people. So, our word is powerful. It's our connection to truth, and this will definitely give me something to work on. I have room for improvement myself, so thank you. Okay.
Thanks so much to Birgitta for that disarmingly honest talk about the importance of observing truthfulness and specifically keeping one's word. And he makes these extraordinary statements about just keeping one's word is enough to attain God realization. Next up is, Bindu.
Well, greetings, everybody, and pranams to Swamis. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the concept of harmony of religions and the oneness of existence are dominant themes, and they resonated very well with me. In a world marked by diversity, where differences often overshadow our shared humanity, we see that religion has often been a source of division rather than unity. Sri Ramakrishna observed, wherever I look, I see men quarreling in the name of religion, Hindu, Mohammedans, Brahmos, Vaishnavas, and the rest. But they never reflect that he who is called Krishna is also called Shiva or Jesus or Allah. Sri Ramakrishna's message, beautifully captured by his disciple M in the Gospel, is a timeless call for a deeper understanding of God, humanity, and the divine presence that binds us all. In the Gospel, we read about how Sri Ramakrishna practiced various religions to experience God. When he practiced Islam, he immersed himself fully in its teaching. When he practiced Christianity, He saw a vision of Christ and experienced the divine in that form, as Francis informed us. He would often say, "Joto mot, toto pot," which means as many faiths, so many paths. Whether it was through the path of devotion in Hinduism, the surrender of the self in Christianity, or the submission to the will of Allah in Islam, he counseled that each path, if followed with sincerity and devotion, lead to the same divine source. He allegorized, a lake has several ghats. At one place, Hindus take water and call it jal. Muslims call it pani, and the Christians call it water. Each religion is only a path leading to God, as rivers come from different directions and ultimately become one in the one ocean. Sri Ramakrishna's teachings are a guide for living in harmony with all beings, transcending these religious boundaries. Another core teaching of Sri Ramakrishna is the oneness of existence. He often said, Jiva is Shiva, meaning every living being is a manifestation of the divine. He taught us to see God not just in temples, churches, and mosques, but in every living creature and in each other. Sri Ramakrishna often spoke of the divine essence permeating every aspect of the natural world. For him, nature was not merely a collection of inert objects, but a living, breathing expression of the divine. This aligns with the ancient Hindu concept of panentheism, where God is both immanent and transcendent, present within the universe and beyond it. In one of his parables, he compared the manifestation of God in nature to a hidden treasure buried under the earth. One must dig deeply through spiritual practice to uncover it. Sri Ramakrishna often quoted from the Upanishad saying, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this is indeed Brahman. This reflects the concept that everything in the universe is interconnected and made up of the same divine consciousness. For Sri Ramakrishna, God was not a distant abstract entity, but the very substance and essence of the universe itself. His vision of oneness is not a denial of diversity, but a recognition that diversity is merely an expression of the underlying unity. He would often say that God is like an ocean, and all individuals, beings, are like waves rising and falling on its surface. The waves appear distinct, but they are all made of the same water. This metaphor illustrates that while we perceive differences in forms, names, and functions, at the core, everything is the same divine reality. Understanding this oneness leads to a transformation in how we view the world and interact with others. When one realizes that the same divine presence is within all beings, it fosters a sense of universal love, compassion, and respect. As we reflect on the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, as recorded by M in the Gospel, let us honor the diversity of faiths and celebrate the unity of existence. Let us be the instruments of peace and love in a world that desperately needs it now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Bindu for that inspiring speech on Sri Ramakrishna's teachings on the harmony of religions and on the divine oneness of all existence. Often we think of Advaita as denying the existence, the reality of diversity. But what she's, I think, rightly pointing out is that for Sri Ramakrishna was an Advaitin, but he was an Advaitin who taught that diversity itself is a real, vibrant, luminous manifestation of the divine. Next up is Narayana.
So every time I've ever given a talk before, I've read my script, but this time I'm going to wing it. So we'll see what happens. So my talk is about how understanding Thakur, the master, is not possible with the lower mind, with our knowledge, with our understanding, which comes from thought. So I thought I would start with a little bit of autobiographical stuff. I started meditating and I received a spiritual awakening in 1969. And at that time I was very into poverty, the vow of poverty, and also renunciation and celibacy. So I lived that way, or at least I had that as an ideal, until I met Amanda. When I met Amanda in New York City, she was a beautiful young woman. She had a lot of money. She was very personable, very friendly, very outgoing, and she became infatuated with me, which was really remarkable. So I realized that her infatuation for me was a big ego builder for me, or at least I did later. But at the time, it was just, like a joyride. So, but this only lasted, because it was infatuation, it wasn't real love. It only lasted for about a year before she started. Well, we were apart for about a year, sorry. We were apart for about a year after that. And she had an affair with somebody else. It broke my heart. I was really devastated. And I created a mantra for myself, which was, women are nothing but trouble. So I repeated this mantra to myself, women are nothing but trouble. I would use it in conversations with people and say, women are nothing but trouble. But this lasted for about 4 years. I had a guru at that time who wanted me to get married again. She told me 3 different times to get married, and I said, no, I want to be a sannyasi. I don't want to get married again. And then the 4th time, I said, okay, I guess I better listen to her. So I met another wonderful person who was going to be faithful for 25 years. And so that was the beginning of a new understanding for me where women were not trouble. So I wanted to read from the gospel something that supports 2 different points of view. One is, so the master was talking with M. He said, I am very much afraid of women. When I look at one, I feel as if a tigress were coming to devour me. Besides, I feel that their bodies, their limbs, and even their pores are very large. This makes me look upon them as she-monsters. See, women are nothing but trouble. I used to be much more afraid of women than I am at present. I wouldn't allow one to come near me. Now I persuade my mind in various ways to look upon women as forms of the blissful mother. A woman is no doubt a part of the divine mother, but as far as man is concerned, especially a sannyasi or a devotee of God, she is to be shunned. I don't allow a woman to sit near me very long, no matter how great her devotion may be. After a little while, I say to her, go to the temple. If that doesn't make her move, I myself leave the room on the pretext of smoking. I think he does this just for fun. He makes these different things. I don't know. Okay, another one which is along the same lines. They say I cannot get along without women and gold. They don't understand the state of my mind. If I touch a woman, my hand becomes numb. It aches. If in a friendly spirit I approach a woman and begin to talk to her, I feel as if a barrier had been placed between us. It is impossible for me to cross that barrier. If a woman enters my room when I'm alone, at once I become like a child and regard her as my mother. As M listened to these words, he became speechless with wonder at Sri Ramakrishna's exalted state of mind. So this is Women Are Nothing But Trouble. Okay, now there's another point of view, which is valuable to understand. So in the introduction, under the title of Women Devotees, with his women devotees, Sri Ramakrishna established a very sweet relationship. He himself embodied the tender traits of a woman. He had dwelt on the highest plane of truth, where there is not even the slightest trace of sex, and his innate purity evoked only the noblest emotion in men and women alike. His women devotees often said, "We seldom looked on Sri Ramakrishna as a member of the male sex. We regarded him as one of us. We never felt any constraint before him. He was our confidant." They loved him as their child, their friend, and their teacher. In spiritual discipline, he advised them to renounce lust and greed, and especially warned them not to fall into the snares of men. So those are two sides which we sort of understand. And there's another point of view, which is the one that blew my mind and made me want to give a talk about this. So this is from God Lived With Them, and it's Vijnananda's encounter with Swami Vivekananda. Once while at Bellarmine, Divyanananda was wondering about Swamiji's work in the West and his relationship with Western women. Seeing Swamiji alone in his room, Divyanananda asked him frankly, "Swamiji, while you were in the West, you associated with the women there, but didn't the Master teach the contrary in this respect?" He used to say, "A monk should not even look at the portrait of a woman." He emphatically told me not to be close to women, however devoted they might be. So I'm wondering why you did so. That was pretty frank. Immediately, Swamiji became very grave, and his face and eyes turned crimson with anger. After a while, he said, "Well, Peshan," which was a nickname for Divyanananda, "do you think that what you have understood about the Master is all that he is? What do you know about the Master? Do you know that the Master eradicated the idea of the difference between male and female from my mind? Is there any difference between male and, is there any difference, any distinction of sex in the Atman? Moreover, the Master came for the good of the entire world. Did he come to liberate men only? He will save all, both men and women. You people want to belittle the Master by measuring him with the yardstick of your own intellects. Whatever the Master told you is true. You follow that implicitly. But to me, his instructions were different. He not only gave me instructions, he clearly showed me everything. He holds my hands. Whatever he makes me do, I do." So to me, this is an example of how you cannot limit Sri Ramakrishna to what can be understood by the limited mind, by your own mind, but his being is infinite. Thank you.
Thanks to Narayana for that very nuanced meditation on the complexity of Sri Ramakrishna's views on women, but ultimately how much he revered every woman as a living embodiment of the Divine Mother. So that wraps up the devotee portion of our program today. 10 devotees have just offered their really intimate and thought-provoking reflections on different aspects of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Now, for the final part of the program, my humble pranams to revered Swami Divyanandaji Maharaj and revered Swami Divyanandaji Maharaj and other monastics in the room and nuns. It's a distinct honor and pleasure for me to welcome now Vice President Divyanandaji Maharaj. I'm privileged and blessed to have known him from day one of my joining the monastic order back in 2010. I joined at Vivekananda University. Now it's referred to as RKM, a very cumbersome acronym, but back then it was called Vivekananda University in Belumad. And across the street is Sharadapit, where Sarvadevanaji was also there for many, many years, and Divyanandaji Maharaj was head of Sharadapit at the time. And he was like a grandfather to me. I would go to him anytime I had any doubts, and he's known throughout India, throughout the world, as one of the most loving swamis. His heart is full of love, and anytime a devotee was in a position, some situation of distress, anguish, suffering, the go-to swami is Swami Divyanandaji, and he's done tremendous work in prisons also throughout West Bengal, I believe, maybe other places as well. And amazing. He could, by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, performing miracles and turning criminals, turning their lives around almost overnight. Extraordinary. So it's my pleasure to welcome Vice President Swami Divyanandaji Maharaj to come to the podium and bless us with a speech on the gospel. Okay.
सर्वधर्म स्थापकत्वं सर्वधर्म स्वरूपक आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Revered Sarvadevanandaji and other Swamis and nuns and devotees, pranams, namaskar and best wishes to all of you. It is a great privilege to be here on this holy day. This is Labor Day. We are also laborers of Sri Ramakrishna. Anyhow, today you all you have read complete gospel of the Master. So you have a very beautiful or rich experience throughout the day. Till now, you have read different portions of the gospel, which we call in Bengal Kathamrita, nectar of words. Really, we are all fortunate to be born in this globe after the advent of Sri Ramakrishna. One person told me that, do you believe that he was the only savior? He was calling his own savior. He was the savior of the mankind. I said, yes. Oh, he said, only savior. Do you believe that he is the only savior? I told no, because before him there were saviors, and after him also many saviors are born. We do not believe that only one savior is there. One religion believes that only one savior, no savior can be there after him. But we all believe that there are many saviors. whenever needed, God takes the form of human being and comes as an avatar, incarnation. So in this incarnation, the speciality is this, that all the words of Sri Ramakrishna has been kept in the Gospel or some other books also written by his own disciples, sannyasin disciples and household disciples. So Gospel is a unique book where all the scriptures, the essence of all scriptures are there. As it is said in the Dhyana Mantra of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Upanishado Gabo, Dogdha Gopalanandana, Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta, Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. Similar is the position of the Gospel. If we go through the Gospel, we find all scriptures are taught by Sri Ramakrishna in very, very simple language. Anyhow, I have seen many sadhus, many monks of our order who regularly read and who are living, they are regularly reading Gospel. At least once in a day, one time in a day. I have seen some monks, few monks, who read this Kathamrita or Gospel twice, once in the morning, once before going to bed. Household devotees also I know. In Calcutta at least I know some few devotees who read this Gospel together with other family members. And they enjoy it, they are in peace, or they proceed or they can swim the ocean of this samsara, household. There are many problems. You all read the marvelous incident on 16th October, Sri Ramakrishna, 1882, asked M. Master Mahashaya, the writer of Gospel, "Do you dream?" Then he immediately responded, "Yes, recently I had a dream. There was deluge, terrible water. Then we were in small boats. Boats were sunk down, and we few got a chance. There was a big ship coming. We got into the ship. Then when the ship was running or moving on this terrible water, I saw a Brahmin walking on foot on the water. I asked, 'How can you go without anything on the terrible water?' Then he told, 'You see my track path. There is a bridge below my path. You see it, note it.' Then he asked, the dreamer, Master Mahasaya asked, 'Where are you going, sir?' 'I am going to Bhabanipur.' We know Bhabanipur is the place, Kali Ghat. Mother Kali's temple is there. So the Brahmin told, 'I am going to Kali Ghat.' Then again he asked, 'Will you wait please for some time?' The Brahmin told, 'No, I have hurry. You will be little late. See the path and you follow me.' In this way the conversation ends, and before that Thakur told, 'I have my hairs on the hand are becoming straight, romancho hachyamar.' And he said that you take mantra. Till then, M did not take mantra diksha from anybody. Anyhow, the dream is like this. There is terrible water in this world. where we live and we move. Water means trouble. You know, I started jail work, then some devotee of Calcutta phoned me, Maharaj, you are doing service to the prisoners. We, the household people who are in the samsara, are also in a big prison. We are not free, really. Even if somebody has not done samsara or is not married, then also proceeding to the end, before we die, we have so many bondage. It was said, Pasabaddas tatha jiva, pasamuktas tatha siva. One day, Bhuteshanandaji Maharaj was discussing on the Independence Day of India, 15th August, before the students. He told, what does Swadhin mean? Swadhin mean, we ordinarily mean freedom from other state. We got independence, India. Like that, all countries who were in bondage, who were not independent, they got independence. But Bhuteshanandaji told on the point of Vedanta, he said Swadhin means you are Swa-adhin. That is, you are under only Atman, nothing else. If you move according to the direction of your inner soul, then only you can be called free. He talked on this subject or on this topic for half an hour with certain stories so that the students can understand. Anyhow, the gospel is a unique scripture combination of all the scriptures. What is in Christianity, what is in Buddhism, what is in different aspects or different sects, scriptures of Hindu scriptures, everything has been discussed there. Yoga, jnana, bhakti, karma, everything. Anyhow, this is a marvelous thing which you are following. In this center, I was asking Maharaj Sarvadevanandaji and knew that for a long time this is being done. So sometimes people ask what to do. I say status quo. Maintain what is going on. Don't stop. When I was at Saradapit, I started like this, but we could not continue. And I also was transferred, then it stopped. But it should be continued. Even if someone is absent, if the head is absent or changed after his demise, then also it should not be stopped. It should be continued. Anyhow, I saw Gitananda Maharaj, our Vice President, Shivamayanandaji Maharaj, they all had regular reading of Kathamrita, Gospel. And it was very interesting. There was a vibration at this time. So all the monks, brahmacharis, used to go to Gitanandaji's room when Kathamrita was read, Gospel was read. Shantananda Maharaj was another great monk of us. He was disciple of Holy Mother. At the end of his life, I saw him. I used to go in the afternoon. I saw Kathamrita was being read daily. And he used to actually meditate, or always almost his eyes are closed, but during that time, he used to take himself to that period, the period of Kathamrita. One day, we were reading on Nitya Gopal. Then he asked me, have you seen Nitya Gopal? He actually went to that period, and he actually knew Nitya Gopal. Then I asked Maharaj, we are too junior, how can we see? Then he said, I have seen him. He used to have ecstasy, samadhi. I have seen bhava samadhi. I have seen him in that state. One day, we were reading Kathamrita, where it is said, Sandhya marges or sandhya, detailed sandhya ritual is not required. Only Gayatri will do. Sandhya Gayatri te loy hai. It merges into Gayatri. Then Thakur says Gayatri Omkare loy hai. Gayatri merges in Omkara. Then Maharaj Shantananda Maharaj told, do you hear Omkar Dhani, Omkar sound? We told no. Then Maharaj told, I hear Omkar Dhani. It comes from the navel and eternal sound, Omkara. I listen to it. Then we asked, Maharaj, how can one listen Omkara? It was so easy for him. He told, withdraw your mind from this mundane world. Then you will be able to listen to Omkara Dhani, which is actually, it is said, at the end of yoga practice. So these were our experience. And when I read Kathamrita, I read in 1884, that story I will tell and stop. I read in 1884, January, Sri Ramakrishna was found shedding tears and weeping. Master says, Kandiya, Kandiya. He was weeping and praying to Mother Kali, that Mother, O Mother, the devotees who are coming, you please fulfill their desires. Tader manobancha purno koro. Fulfill their desires. At the end, that is at the time of death, do something for them, whatever you like. Then he says, you give darshana also, vision, your vision to them. Otherwise, how can they be encouraged? তাদের মাঝে মাঝে দেখা দিও মা, তা নইলে উৎসাহ পাবে কি করে? Master writes specifically, Sri M, that কান্দিতে কান্দিতে প্রার্থনা করিতেছিলেন. He was shedding tears and praying for the devotees. It is said, God is Bhakta Vatsala, means God is loved, or God loves our devotees. In the heart of God, devotees are there. So, Sri Ramakrishna did this, he came for this, he was love personified, he was Prema Sarupa, and he actually is in the form of gospel, we say. Here, in this, before the dining hall, there is an iron case and it is written, Veda Bhagavan, like that. God Veda. The Sikh people, they maintain Granth Sahib and they have no Guru. Guru is now Granth Sahib. Up to 10th generation, they had Gurus. Then they were unable to find Guru actually. At that time, it was introduced that Granth Sahib, our main scripture, will be our Guru. Similarly, we may think that really we have Guru, but another Guru is, guide is this gospel. Those who cannot come to Guru or cannot consult Guru, they can consult Kathamrita. Really, the solution of your problem, life problem, will be there. Swami Vivekananda used to say, education, education, education. Education is the panacea of all social evils. Similarly, Kathamrita is the panacea of all social evils. Swami Brahmanandaji, Swami Divyanandaji, they used to say, read Kathamrita daily, then you will have realization of Brahman, the truth. I asked one villager who was initiated by Vishuddhananda Maharaj, mother's disciple, that what Upadesham you received from him, what direction during Diksha, except the mantra or practice of mantra. Then he said, my Guru specifically said to me, read 3 or 2 pages at least from the gospel daily, and I did not stop from that day. So till his death, he did this, obeyed his Guru Vishuddhanandaji. Anyhow, with this I conclude, and I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, to Holy Mother Sharda Devi, to Swamiji, Raja Maharaj, and everybody, all gods and goddesses, to bestow their choicest blessings upon you all. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Actually, I am not a good speaker, especially in English. I speak there frequently in Bengali only.
Thank you so much. You can stay. What's the button? Ekta gan hobe tapos Maharaj. My humble pranams to revered Vice President Divyanandaji Maharaj for that wonderful, uplifting speech on the importance of regularly studying the gospel, reading the gospel, and explaining so nicely how the gospel itself is the essence of all the world's religious scriptures. Another distinctive aspect of the gospel, one that Kiran talked about, is that it's full of songs and singing. Sri Ramakrishna himself sang many beautiful songs, Vaishnava songs, songs to Divine Mother, and he listened to music. He would ask great singers and ordinary singers to sing songs. Often, just from hearing a few words, a few lines, he would go into very high states of samadhi. So now it's time for all of us to go into samadhi. So I'm going to welcome now Shungita. She's going to sing for us a song that's very commonly sung in our tradition in Belumat, a song about Divine Mother. And I'm going to read the English translation of the song first. Ekbar Birajogo Ma Ridi Komalashane. It's a very beautiful song. Most of us are familiar with it. So here's the translation, because without the translation, you're not going to appreciate the beauty and how moving the song is. Reside at least once in the lotus of my heart, O Mother. Let me once behold your world-bewitching form with these eyes in the lotus of my heart. Reside at least once in the lotus of my heart, O Mother. You are Mother Annapurna, Shama at cremation ground, Uma in Kailas, Rama in Vaikuntha. Taking the forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, you create, preserve, and destroy in the lotus of my heart. You are male or female. Mother, I am not able to understand. If you yourself don't make us understand, then how can anyone understand? You dressed yourself up in Vrindavan, half as Radha and the other half as Krishna, in the lotus of my heart. You are the mother of the universe, followed by the people, and to those followers, you're the wish-fulfilling tree of grace. I have heard that if devotees call you as mother, you take them on your lap, in the lotus of my heart. You're the remover of sorrow and suffering and the cause of awakening. I want nothing except your lotus feet, O Mother. I have this desire in my mind to adore your feet with the lotus of my love, in the lotus of my heart. Being a wanderer, a wandering beggar, my mind craves for the vision of the honey dripping smile on Mother's face. Sitting on Mother's lap and crying, Mother, Mother, I shall do my yoga and my dhyana meditation. Reside at least once, O Mother, in the lotus of my heart. Let me at least once behold your world-bewitching form in these eyes, in the lotus of my heart.
Pranam to Ramakrishna Thakur, Sharadama, Revered Swami Divyanandaji, my Swamiji, Swami Sarvadevanandaji, Medhanandaji, Mahayoganandaji, and everyone else. So I like to sing songs when I pray to God, pray to Ma Durga, Ma Kali. That's my favorite way to pray to God. And so this song I'm devoting to Ma Kali. একবার বিরাজ গো মা হৃদি কমলাসনে, একবার বিরাজ গো মা হৃদি কমলাসনে, তোমার ভুবন ভরা রূপটি একবার দেখে লই মা নয়নে, তোমার ভুবন ভরা রূপটি একবার দেখে লই মা নয়নে, কমলাসনে একবার বিরাজ গো মা হৃদি কমলাসনে, তুমি অন্নপূর্ণা মা শ্মশানে শ্যামা, কৈলাসেতে উমা তুমি বৈকুণ্ঠে রমা, তুমি অন্নপূর্ণা মা শ্মশানে শ্যামা, কৈলাসেতে উমা তুমি বৈকুণ্ঠে রমা, ধর বিরিঞ্চি শিব বিষ্ণুরূপ সৃজনলয় পালনে, ধর বিরিঞ্চি শিব বিষ্ণুরূপ সৃজনলয় পালনে, কমলাসনে একবার বিরাজ গো মা হৃদি কমলাসনে, তুমি পুরুষ কি নারী বুঝিতে নারী, স্বয়ং না বুঝালে তাকি বুঝিতে পারি, তুমি পুরুষ কি নারী বুঝিতে নারী, স্বয়ং না বুঝালে তাকি বুঝিতে পারি, তুমি আধা রাধা আধা কৃষ্ণ সাজিলে বৃন্দাবনে, তুমি আধা রাধা আধা কৃষ্ণ সাজিলে বৃন্দাবনে, কমলাসনে একবার বিরাজ গো মা হৃদি কমলাসনে, তুমি জগতের মাতা যোগী জনানুগতা, অনুগত জনে কৃপা কল্পলতা, তুমি জগতের মাতা যোগী জনানুগতা, অনুগত জনে কৃপা কল্পলতা, তোমায় মা বলে ডাকিলে নাকি কোলে নাও ভক্ত জনে, তোমায় মা বলে ডাকিলে নাকি কোলে নাও ভক্ত জনে, কমলাসনে একবার বিরাজ গো মা হৃদি কমলাসনে, দুঃখ দৈন হারিণী চৈতন্যকারিণী, অন্য কিছু চাই না বিনা চরণ দুখানি, দুঃখ দৈন হারিণী চৈতন্যকারিণী, অন্য কিছু চাই না বিনা চরণ দুখানি, আমি প্রেম সরোজে সাজাব পদ বাসনা মনে মনে, আমি প্রেম সরোজে সাজাবো পদ বাসনা মনে মনে কমলাসনে একবার বিরাজ গো মা হৃদি কমলাসনে পরিব্রাজক ভিখারি সাধ মনেতে ভারী মধুর হাসি মাখা মায়ের মুখখানি হেরি পরিব্রাজক ভিখারি সাধ মনেতে ভারী মধুর হাসি মাখা মায়ের মুখখানি হেরি বসে মায়ের কোলে মামা বলে মাতিব যোগ ধ্যানে বসে মায়ের কোলে মামা বলে মাতিব যোগ ধ্যানে কমলাসনে একবার বিরাজ গো মা হৃদি কমলাসনে।
Thank you so much to Shongita for that beautiful song to Divine Mother. And finally, I welcome revered Swami Divyanandaji Maharaj to offer us his final blessings.
I am thankful to all of you for participating from the morning at 10 o'clock till now. And it is a good opportunity, wonderful opportunity to soak our mind in the thought of God consciousness. We spend days in different way, but this is a different way of celebrating the day by keeping the mind in the thought of God and feeling our heart in a God consciousness. And also, I am very thankful to Vedanta. He has organized this wonderful, what you call the experience of the devotees to come up and say, because we don't get that opportunity very much. So this is very good, and we are really, I am very much benefited by thinking so many ways how you look at the Sri Ramakrishna Gospel and how we can get so much of ideas and values of life from there. That's why Swami Visuddhananda Swami used to say always that read Gospel. And what is there in the Gospel? Read Gospel and take the essential message of Gospel. What is that? He is to say 3 words. Dub dao, jhap dao, egiye podo. Dive deep. Jump, dive deep. And move on, move on, move on. And he was, I have attended many of his discourses. He used to, being the vice president, so devotees used to go to salute him. And he will be just like gospel. Thakur is speaking all the time about God, and he will be speaking about God and God and God and gospel and his personal experiences, how he met the Thakur's other disciples and other people he met, the Ramlal Dada and Shibu Dada, all those stories which we only hear in the gospel now. So he used to talk, and continuously people used to come and salute. And his major teaching, every time we got it, don't wait for your days to get lost into the world. Dive deep, jump, dive deep, and move on in the spiritual path. And also, as Swamiji was talking about many experiences, many people take that. Life's many problems, just take the gospel and close the eyes and open it. And when you open it and you read that, in many cases, it called the coincidence But many I heard, they got the response to what the inner quest. That question is solved there. So Sri Ramakrishna is alive in that sense through the gospel. He is speaking to us. When we read the gospel, it is our pilgrimage. We actually, many books we can read, but this type of description is never found in any other place, any other scripture, where it is taking us. We are sitting in Hollywood, we are sitting in Camarillo, or we are sitting in London, or in any part of the world, but you just open the page and read, and you just mentally go into that place and live with a personality. Ramakrishna is moving, Ramakrishna is talking. You can be very intimate. You may be one of the person. And then you enjoy the bliss and presence of the divine. That is called in meditation language we call Lila Dhyanam. Meditation on the divine sport. Divine sport means how Ramakrishna walked, what Ramakrishna said. Go into the environment, feel that Ramakrishna is asking, Naren is entering into it, and Naren is saying, hey, Naren, and he's getting totally intoxicated, and he's asking him to sing a song, and he's dancing and singing just in that environment, a divine environment. Being in any place in our very disturbed and busy lifestyle, it can bring us solace. It is like oasis. So we should take advantage of this reading of the gospel. And you find that today we have read all of you have some portion of the reading, and you can get some special message from that. And that message can be carried out into our life and to make our life more spiritual, because we will have to live in the world. There is no way out. But how being in the world, not of the world, that is Sri Ramakrishna's message. And it talks about the most mundane stories like some jokes and funs to the highest nirvikalpa samadhi. We hear about samadhi, but he is going every day 10, 20 times, the endless time. Whenever one's mind shoots up into the high spirit of non-dual state, and then coming back again out of compassion for all of us. So we are very thankful to all of you for participating and coming. And two things we do every year. It is Swami Ananda Maharaj's starting a new channel of spending the day. We do a big venture on reading the gospel, Memorial Day, complete works of Swami Vivekananda, 9 volumes. How many pages? 4,500 pages maybe. But we all read together. And now it has extended to the US. It goes to all the parts, New York, that devotees are spread. They all read. 4, 5, 6 books we finish. 6 times we read gospel, the same complete works of Swami Vivekananda. And everyone gets benefit. Because Swamiji's message is the fiery message to awaken the kindling, our inner potential divinity, no? And then we did this gospel of Ramakrishna is this Labor Day. So it is a blessed opportunity, and that can be continued, as Swamiji suggested, to read every day 2-3 pages of gospel. That make a habit of that. That will give much direction in our life. And so thank you again, and particularly we are very specially thankful to Swami. And he happened to come here. And this is the time it is going on in program. When he sent me the program, I didn't do any program, but the program is made in such a way, then it fitted into all these programs here. And in the 75th anniversary in our Prabhuko on the 7th, and here again Swamiji will be speaking on the 8th, on the 125th year of our Swami Vivekananda's coming into the Los Angeles. So it happened that he became a part of our this journey, and we are very happy and we are very blessed to have him with us. And then our love and respect for the Swami and love for all of you, and enjoy your day, read more of the gospel and get the benefit of it. let the blessings of Thakur Ma Swamiji be upon all of us, and we may proceed in our inner life to get tranquility and peace. Especially I thank all the participants for giving your wonderful rendering of the Gospel's idea and teachings. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jai Ma. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Bolavad, he was to say some words.
But should we announce tea?
Of course. We'll all go for a cup of tea. I do not know whether it is ready, but it will be ready soon, or if it is not already ready. Okay, please, thank you. Okay, bole something.
সেবক আছে আমার ব্রহ্মচারী